Thanks for being here this afternoon. We have some very exciting information we want to release with regard to technology. As everybody knows, technology over the last decade has been rapidly changing. We as users are getting more and more comfortable with what's being provided out there in the private sector. And we began looking at how that affects emergency communications. Particularly, last year I made a commitment, as some of you know, to look at emergency communications and build the next generation emergency communications network for Collier County. We began with a plan which has been created by the staff behind you, so we've got a lot of people here who can give you some specifics if you need it. We knew that it was going to take 24 to 30 months to create the whole system and rebuild what we've got, but we didn't want to wait that long to release information that can be helpful in emergency communications requests by the public. So from this point forward, as we come across unique and different things, we're going to make sure that you're aware of it and that the community is aware of it as well. So today, I'd like to touch on two areas, one with the communication system, one with the Community Video Watch Partnership. They are two separate programs, but they both use technology. So for the first, we'd like to let you know, and those of our residents who have Verizon network telephones in unincorporated Collier County and the city of Marco Island, that you are now able to text to 911 in Collier County. The Federal Communications Commission has told us that we are the first in the state of Florida to enable that type of communication. It is the first step in a long line of what we will be bringing to the community, because we are going to go beyond texting and go into digital images, photos, streaming, as well as other information as we build out this program. The service is really best used at this point in a couple of very specific cases. One, for the hearing impaired. Number two, if you have a medical emergency and you're unable to use 911, the verbal communication side, because as you see in the press release, there are a number of recommendations that we make, and the first one is continue to use 911 service if you're able to use that. If you're unable to, as the case we had just last week where we had a crime in progress in Immokalee, where we had a young boy and another who were unable to verbalize that they were having a problem, and they were texting their friends. If they are on the Verizon network, they would now be able to text right into our communication center. As with all new technologies, and being the first, we're certainly going to experience some bugs, I'm sure, in the system. But as technology moves forward, people will begin to want to use this type of communication and are, again, very comfortable at using it. So very, very important. We're working with other carriers right now, and we believe by the end of the year, most other carriers will be able to provide this service as well. So it is very, very important that we begin. If you look at what we're doing overall, we are not only rebuilding our CAD system, we are putting in place Locution, which is a network-based dispatching protocol. We are looking at being able to connect the city of Naples to our infrastructure, and actually, since we knew it was going to be about 24 to 30 months for a CAD, we actually did an interface with them for emergency medical calls, and we will continue to build that system so that they are able to use it. As technology improves, as we get additional elements to our system, we'll make sure that you know that. but a very important element of where we're going. And I'll take a break there for a minute to see if you have any questions relative to text to 911, and then we'll go on to the community video partnership.
Is it as simple as just texting 911, or is it a different number or anything?
It's as simple as texting to 911. And again, if you're currently on the Verizon network system.
What happens if you are on like AT&T or something, or maybe you accidentally do this? Do you get a text message back saying to call, or does nothing happen?
In most cases, if like any other text, if it does not get through, you'll receive a message back that says there was an error, and then you're going to know that it didn't go through. Which is why, at this point, we're still recommending voice 911 unless you're unable to do that. And you're on Verizon today, you can try this as a backup option.
And it's already active?
It is active.
As of when?
Effective right now.
Has anyone used it so far?
No, no.
And how do the dispatchers respond back? Through a text message, or how
Yes.
is the response?
Yes, they'll be able to let them know that they've received their message and that units are on the way.
Are you able to do pictures, like let's say you're at a crime scene, you see something going on, or are you able to do pictures and send that to the dispatcher for ease of use?
We are not able to do that today, but that is one of the enhancements that will come along with our upgrade of the whole system. It'll be both digital still photos as well as streaming video. And as a matter of fact, not to get too far ahead, but we want to be able to ultimately forward those images to the vehicle so that responding deputies and emergency service personnel can have that with them when they get to scene.
For people that you've told this to already that might know about it, what's their response to it?
They think it's great. They think that we're using technology the way the average person is using it today. If you think about how texting is being used amongst one another, in fact, I've had some comments that say, well, what's taking so long? You know, why couldn't we have been doing this for years? And I think that's why, as we remind everyone, the changes in only the last 5 to 10 years have been dramatic in what not only technology allows us to do personally, individually, but what we can do in law enforcement and business as well.
I would think this also comes with a warning or maybe a sense of caution. I mean, if somebody were to prank 911 or maybe abuse it, it takes a little bit of effort to pick up the phone, call them, and kind of go through that hassle. But texting, especially with teenagers, might be a little bit easier for them to do.
And that's a good question. You know, the rules apply whether it be voice or text with regard to unlawful 911 request. And we will pursue that as vigorously as we do verbal.
What's the cost associated with this program, and where is that coming from?
That's a good question. Bob, any idea of the cost at this point?
There's not really a cost. It's provided by the carriers. They entered into an agreement with the FCC, and they're providing the service. We had some networking type in-house time and efforts, but basically we use the equipment we have now, so there were no cost to us directly for this.
Does it like pop up on a screen somewhere, or how does that get monitored?
In communications, just as if you were calling the intake person in communications, instead of getting showing that it's an incoming phone call that automatically populates the screen, it'll show a text message. Which brings up a good point though, and it's in as part of your handout. Right now there is no way to look at a smart text system that locates automatically where you're at. So you still need to know where you're at to let us know. I'm sure that will change in the future. In fact, without a doubt that will change in the future, but today you need to remember to put down where you're at.
What does it say for Collier County to start this? Maybe a new trend?
I think we have been on the leading edge of technology for some time. I know our staff and myself have had that commitment. We're just going to continue to move forward because in another 5 years things will change from here. And I think we need to stay not only up with technology, ahead of technology, as long as we're doing it in a cost-effective manner.
You had mentioned it would take about 24 to 30 months to revamp the emergency system. Where are
Yes.
we at in that timeline? How far along?
We're about a year into it, and that's why you'll see some things that are coming up. Again, some of the things are being used by other communities, locution, for example. What our plan is, though, is instead of having individual software programs that we can apply, we're building and putting them all together in one package. And that's really what's going to separate us from most other communities. Okay. If you have other questions on that, we can certainly get to you. Another thing, again, looking at technology and the accessibility of high-quality video cameras. We're looking at announcing the partnership and the start of the Community Video Watch Partnership. And what we're looking at doing there is knowing that so many of our businesses, communities, individual households have the capability of cameras today. As we found out through our normal neighborhood canvases when there is a crime apparent, we'd like to be able to partner with people in advance of a crime problem. And that would allow us to know more about the location of privately owned cameras so that we can get back to those owners, let them know that we have had an incident or a crime in their neighborhood, and ask if their cameras have any evidence that might help support the investigation. Very clearly, we've thought about a couple of things. We as an organization are not going to maintain any records or files of people's videos. It is essentially, we're seeking registration from interested persons who say, I've got a system in my neighborhood, my business, my home. If there is an event nearby me, please contact me to see if we can help in some way. Which makes it very clear about what law enforcement possesses and what it doesn't. It's a completely volunteer program on the part of our business and population. It will not stop us from walking and canvassing in the event of a crime event or other emergency event that we need additional information on. But if you can imagine that as these occurrences unfold, particularly when there's some time sensitivity, if we know where to go directly, it will save detectives significant amounts of time to try and gather information and maybe even get it out more immediately than we might be able to do. And as even you all know, the speed at which information flows, people are becoming more and more used to that. So whatever we can do to enhance information out to the public, because what we're looking at is not only investigative information, preventative information, because as criminals become aware that we have that capability in this county, they're going to look for other places to commit crimes. And we're going to get to Mr. Pick in a minute, who happens to be our first partner in that, so he can speak from the community perspective. But we see this as a very organized and efficient way to know who might have potential information and evidence, who would volunteer that information, who would enable us to follow up more quickly, and potentially have a much quicker outcome of that. The way it's done is you can go on to colliersheriff.net at the Community Video Partnership, CVP link, and just register. It's that simple. One of the real important things I think that many of you are aware of is that we have been partnering with the community and business for a long time. This is one way to use technology to do that. We have Mr. Greg Pick with us. He is from Mediterra, and they are a community that is very proactive with law enforcement partnerships, particularly with us. and they wanted to be the first partner in this new program. So I would like to introduce Mr. Pink for any questions.
Anywhere can help.
Or maybe let us know, in your opinion, what can this benefit?
We at Mediterra believe that there's no stronger association we can have than with the local sheriff's office, whether it be Lee County or Collier County. We're located in both. The stronger that relationship is, the safer we feel. So for us to be able to provide videotape of what may have happened in the area that will enhance the ability of the sheriff's office to be able to finalize a crime, to us is a big deal. So we're happy to be part of this partnership. We also partner with the sheriff's office on using off-duty officers to patrol our neighborhood. We want to be able to deter crime in the Mediterra community, and that's our primary goal. So that's the reason we're the first up here to shake his hand and get on with this process.
As all of you know, our philosophy is community safety service. We expand our partnerships. We believe that each of us, as residents in Collier County and businesses, have a role in keeping this community safe. If we do what we are each supposed to do, we can actually control our crime number. If we lock our houses, if we lock our cars, if we do those things that we should do, not because we have to, because we have one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Florida, but if we continue to do that together, then the criminal element is going to look for a different community to victimize. So we are going to continue to do that, and we're going to do it using technology in the proper vein, in the proper way. Again, this is not a surveillance system by law enforcement, but rather working together with individual residents and business who may have information that could help solve a crime. Questions?
For people that sign up for this, would a detective or whoever is investigating this case when it's initially happening have to approach that person and ask for permission, or are you sort of just like signing away for any future search of your case?
No. In each and every case, a detective would contact the business or a resident and ask, explain to them what has occurred, and ask if they have any information on their system that might aid in solving the case.
So basically, you're just trying to find out who has surveillance video in case a crime happens in that area that you would be able to go to.
Yes, and again, for those who have community systems, that's even more important.
How many people have signed up for this so far? Is it just the Mediterra community?
So far, our number one is Mediterra, and that's why we're introducing, today is the first moment that we're introducing the effort. And again, it's not going to stop us from asking at businesses, but again, the more quickly we can find information and evidence, the more quickly we can get it out. And if at some point we're able to link a photograph, a streaming video, and send it to not only communications, but a law enforcement vehicle in the field, the more quickly we can make an arrest, if need be. So that's the ultimate goal.
Can you think of like a recent issue?